This is the Big O Show.
We are ready to rock. Yes, sir, at Hialeah Park. I'm actually, I got some action going on here in race 4 at Gulfstream. We got horses 1 and 3, so let's see what we can do here. See if we can get it done. Get a little wager, just a little bucks, just to have some fun. Myron says, if my Niners win Saturday, can you get a beat writer for the Niners to talk about the game? That will be awesome. Thank you. All right, you got it, my brother. Alex says, let's see. That would make sense. If only we had a superstar on this team, we would be unstoppable. I guess he must be talking about the Heat. I think he's going back and forth with NorCal here. 420 Fuego says, Spo, Coach of the Year. Esther Fins says, Fins talk, love it. Thank you, sir. We got. I mean, there's not a lot of Fins stuff going on, so that's where, Dougie Fresh says, Big O, nobody would admit going to the bunny ranch. They wouldn't? You go wrangling up a bunny, wake up, recommit your life to a higher power for at least a week. Lie to everybody. Leather, rinse, and repeat. How you doing? All right, do we have my man Cal?
We got Calvin Watkins ready to join us, sir.
I like it. We are ready to talk to Calvin Watkins. You can follow him on Twitter at Calvin Watkins. And, of course, his work is all on the Dallas Morning News, getting it done, as the Cowboys now have their coach, Mike McCarthy. So, Mr. Watkins, how was your New Year's, my friend?
It was very good. It's a little stressful, but now that they got a head coach, everything's peaceful now.
Okay, all right. Not the kind of stressful like R. Kelly that he's got one girlfriend assaulting another and getting arrested. I thought that was a funny story. That's stressful right there.
No, I don't have that kind of stress like Mr. Kelly does. No.
Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right, so can Mike McCarthy handle the stress of dealing with Jerry Jones? They were very buddy-buddy in the press conference. Everything seemed so magical and in place during the press conference. But what do you foresee?
I think it was good. I mean, obviously, first press conference, everybody's going to be happy and kiss each other on the cheek and all that kind of stuff. But Mike McCarthy understands the deal. He coached in Green Bay, and their expectations is very high, much like here in Dallas. Now, whether or not he gets it done, I really don't know. He's got a talented roster that players need to probably be coached up a little bit more than what they have been over the last couple of years under Jason Garrett. But I definitely would say Mike McCarthy understands what he's getting himself into.
All right, so at least he gets it. And is he going to be working with Dak Prescott on a long-term basis? Is that your prediction?
Well, he got a 5-year deal. Well, he got a 5-year deal, and I was saying on TV the other day, he's got 2 years to get this going because this is not a rebuilding program. This is a now program. So he's got 2 years to kind of make this work. And after that, I doubt he'll get it done. You know what I'm saying? Because you start looking at the ages of some of those players in the offensive line. You start looking at the ages of some of those defensive players, depending on who they bring back. So
salary cap.
Long term, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and the salary cap ramifications in 2 years
salary
from having to pay everybody. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you got 2 years, and that's it. And then we'll see.
What'd you think of T.O.'s comments of going after Tom Brady? I got to tell you something. Tom Brady on that team makes them an instant Super Bowl contender, man. With that line, that running game, what do you think about that crazy idea?
That's a crazy idea. I think, Tom Brady has always had great success, and he's had one good receiver and one good tight end. And without that, you kind of saw what he was, which is the average quarterback. Now, he's a lot older, so he's never been able to move around as much. But he's had a lot of talent around him. Maybe not a lot of big name guys all the time, because we had Randy Moss even win the Super Bowl. But when he has some other guys around him, like a Wes Walker and even Edelman and those kinds of things, he won championships. And he also had a pretty good running game, but he had a good tight end. And when he didn't have that, he had a lot of problems. So I could definitely see him being here in Dallas, even win a Super Bowl. But the reality is he's staying in New England.
Yeah, I think that's his best place. Cal, for me, I think he's done all of this to have leverage against Belichick. Do you see it the same way?
A little bit. One of the things that's interesting about that relationship is I'm sure Bill was ready to move on from Tom like 2-3 years ago.
Right.
Maybe 3 years ago, and then they made the trade with San Francisco for Garoppolo. So I think, Bill Belichick wanted to accelerate the process in terms of getting with Tom Brady. And then when Robert Kraft stepped in and said, no, we're going to keep with Tom, I think that kind of delayed everything. So if I'm Belichick, I'm just going to ride this out until it's over. But it wouldn't surprise me at some point if the Patriots do draft a quarterback in the second round. If they have a second round pick after all the cheating that's been going on this year with them.
How do you think this team is going to respond to Mike McCarthy? Are they going to look at him like that championship coach? Or, one of the things, Cal, from an outsider's point of view, I almost feel like Cowboy players will never respect the coach as long as the owner's holding his own press conference every time and undercutting everybody. And everybody sees that's the dude that's really in charge, not you, brother. I don't care what you tell me. And that's the problem I have with the way things are run in Dallas. It's not so much that Jerry is meddling. It's just that the way he talks publicly, he kind of, undercuts the coach's legs in a way. What do you think?
Yeah, in some instances, I would say that. But when you're a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, you got to be a couple of things. You got to be secure in your own skin. That's number one. You just got to be like, look, I can't worry about what the owner says. And always keep the message on point in that locker room and keep the focus on what we're trying to do as a team. And that was one of the good things that Jason Garrett did during his 9 years with the Cowboys, because he just ignored everything. Wade Phillips didn't. I think Wade reacted too much to what Jerry said. And Jason, he didn't. He just said, look, we just got to do what we got to do. Now, there were some tough losses this year. When they lost to the Patriots, Jerry called the team out. So we had a chance to get a statement win, and we failed in that area. So, that's as a head coach, that you gotta win that game, and they didn't. So outside of that, I think Jason needed to just win football games. If you win football games, it doesn't matter what Jerry said. That's the bottom line, and they didn't win enough under Jason Garrett.
But do you feel that those players respected him and really played hard for him? Because that's probably why they didn't win enough games, because they didn't respect him and put up, the effort and play with the kind of concentration that you need week in and week out, that kind of stuff. Don't you think that that's kind of one with the other?
No, they liked Jason and they respected him. I think toward the end they tuned him out. But you could say the same thing about Mike McCarthy in the last 2 years of Green Bay. He was feeding with Aaron Rodgers. Players tuned him out and he got fired. He was there for 13 years. I think that happens with a lot of coaches who are in one place for one full season. But the players like Garrett, and they respected him. A lot of times I think we in the media, we think we know what we're talking about when it comes to some of these players. And when you look at the roster of the Cowboys, you go, maybe we overrated some of these guys. In the last 2 weeks of the season, Amari Cooper did not catch a touchdown pass.
Right.
Kellen Moore did not run the ball enough with Ezekiel Elliott. The offensive line wasn't as good this year as it has been in the past. Defense was average at best, and I'm being nice there. DeMarcus Lawrence had one full sack the last 2 months of the season. It's got nothing to do with coaching. That's got nothing to do with, am I respecting Jason Garrett? You're a professional. You got to play. And I think those guys like Jason, they just didn't perform at the high level because maybe we overrated them a little bit. in some instances.
Is it how's the Cowboy Nation responding when that team has 4 billion Pro Bowlers over the years and they have not really and this team has not reached really we all see it. I mean, you and I know if they had a great coach, they probably would have been, still in the playoffs and maybe even challenging for a Super Bowl, because when I look at that roster, I got to agree, man, I think that roster's freaking loaded.
Well, let's look at their roster. I mean, I think you have a talented roster. So I look at the offense, and the running back is outstanding. The quarterback is good. They got an elite receiver. The offensive line is fantastic. I look on defense. Byron Jones hasn't had an interception in like almost 3 years. You want to pay him $16, $18 million a year? We just talked about DeMarcus Lawrence. The entire defensive front outside DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be free agents next year. Robert Quinn, you know him from living in Miami. He led the Cowboys in sacks, but now he's, 31? You going to pay him any money?
Well, I don't.
Probably not.
And listen, he's an injury-prone guy that knew that his contract was up, and he balled out this year because he's searching for that money again. I wouldn't trust that guy. I was actually shocked that he played this well and stayed even healthy this year.
Nathan Vanderlist, he's going to need neck surgery this month. He's the second year in the league. He's got spinal stenosis. You going to pay him any money? He's got a narrow spinal cord, column, a narrow spinal column. So he needs surgery. So Jalen Smith made the Pro Bowl, but when you look at it, when you watch him play, there was a lot of missed tackles on Jalen Smith's resume. Cowboys have been trying to replace their safeties for 4 years now. They were thinking about trading for Jamal Adams at the trade deadline. So when you break down their roster, you go, are we saying the Cowboys have a talented roster because they are the Dallas Cowboys? When this is the same team that had a chance to clinch a playoff berth in Philly, they didn't score a touchdown. They lost. So, sometimes, as I said before, sometimes we in the media, and I'm included in this, we look at these teams and say, this is going to be a great team. And then when we go over the course of the season, we have to sit back and say, maybe they're not as good as we thought they were, And defensively, that's where their biggest problem is. I mean, they had two different sets of schemes. They had the Rod Marinelli Tampa 2, and then they had Chris Richard running his single high safety scheme that he ran in Seattle. So there was a lot of issues there. And it's the reason why they're not going to bring Richard back or Rod Marinelli back. So, Mike McCarthy is going to revamp this whole coaching staff. As talented as the Cowboys offense was, there were 3 games they didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, but
they didn't make playoffs. They're 8-8. So are they really that talented, or is it about they didn't get coached the right way? I don't know.
But the problem I have with that, where I have to lean to the coaching, is it's every year like that. That's the problem I have with Cal, and that's where I have to say, I look at the names on there and I go, you got to get more out of this team. You're not getting enough out of this team, and that's where I'm interested to see if Mike McCarthy can get more, because we start to get to a point, because you mentioned there earlier in this interview, in a couple of years, then you got to start looking at ages. And all of a sudden, we've been talking about this Dallas team for several years now. Because 2 years from now, it's going to be 5, 6, 7 years that we've been talking about this Cowboy team and this talent. And before we know it, the door's going to be closed on them, and that window of opportunity is gone, and you didn't maximize it. It's kind of what I feel.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, they could have been coached up a little bit better. I really believe that. I think Garrett took them only as far as he could take them. But I'm not going to absolve the players of their responsibilities, too, So I think it's a combination of both. So we'll see how much of a difference Mike McCarthy can be. And like I said, I think it's a great hire for the Cowboys. I'm a little surprised they went this way, because this is a football guy. This is not a sexy hire.
Right.
Everyone thought that they were going to maybe try to hire a college coach. And during the course of the year, as many interviews as Jerry Jones conducts, no one was really listening to him. One of the things he would say repeatedly was, you know what? I thought having a young coaching staff that Jason Garrett's experience, his safety net, would catch a lot of issues that we had in coaching, and we didn't. Then he talked about college coaches that come to the pros don't have a good winning percentage. So Jerry was thinking even during the season that I needed a veteran coach, a proven winner. And here you go with Mike McCarthy. Now, he could have went with Ron Rivera, who he really liked, but Mike McCarthy's won a Super Bowl, and he's coached an iconic franchise in the Packers, as you know. So this seems like to be the perfect hire for him. And I think Jerry's agreeing with you that he thinks that we can coach him up a little bit better. We should be good to go. But then when I tell you about all the defensive issues they had, and even Amari Cooper slumping down the stretch, I go, are they really that talented, or is it coaching? So we'll find out in September.
Follow him on Twitter at Calvin Watkins. Catch his work at the Dallas Morning News. Cal will wrap it up with this. Stephen Jones and his staff have done a really good job on the personnel side. That's something we have to commend them. How much input does Mike McCarthy get in personnel? Not that really the Cowboys need the help because they've been really, really good, but coaches, all head coaches like to have some kind of influence. What kind of power have they given Mike, if any?
I think, he's got his power isn't any different than Jason Garrett.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, I will say this, I think Mike McCarthy will make quicker decisions than Jason Garrett. I think Jason Garrett, waited too long to make decisions on players. Mike McCarthy would be like, look, we got to get rid of this guy, or we need to add somebody, So the coaches have always had a say around here. It's just a matter of, when do you want to speak up and say, we need to make a move here? Because Jerry's open to saying, if we want to change something, we can. So I think Mike will have a lot of say, and I think he will exercise that quite a bit. Because I do believe he was frustrated with that in Green Bay, with the lack of movement by then General Manager Ted Thompson, who didn't make as many moves as I think McCarthy would have liked. Here, Jerry Jones is like, I'll make a move. If you look at what the Cowboys did, last year they traded for Amari Cooper at the trade deadline. This year they traded for Michael Bennett. So that tells you that they're willing to make moves during the course of the season to improve their roster. They were trying to get Jamal Adams at the trade deadline from the Jets. Didn't work out. Right. So Cowboys are willing to do that, and I think Mike McCarthy will benefit from it a lot.
He is Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News. Follow him on Twitter at Calvin Watkins. Cal, I probably won't see you at the East-West, but I'm sure I'll see you at the Senior Bowl. I'm sure you'll be in Mobile.
Yeah, I'll see you down the line, bro.
Drinks on me, baby. You be good.
All right, that's good.
There you go. Calvin Watkins from the Dallas Morning News. Good stuff, as always. Good dude. You want a good dude, Steve Ostrob and the great people at Toyota of Hollywood. We were actually broadcasting out there yesterday. They've got over 1,500 cars and trucks in stock. Let me tell you, they got some great deals. 2019 pre-owned CH, Toyota CHRLE, not 23,000, not 20,000, 16,775. 2020 Corolla E pre-owned, man. Telling you, LE, not 22,000, not 16,000, 13,775. How about a Yaris? A Yaris L 4-door, 2019 pre-owned, not 17,000, not 15,000, 11,775. 2019 Camry SE, not 28,000, not 22,000, 17,775. These deals are amazing. Experience it for yourself. 6 straight years as the #1 volume sales dealership when it comes to Toyotas in the Southeast United States. They're open till midnight, and they'll make your payments till 2021. Get on down to 1841 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. It is Toyota of Hollywood. And we thank Calvin Watkins from the Dallas Morning News for joining us here on the program. As always, Cal is a good dude. At the bottom of the hour, Will Carroll, the injury expert, is going to join us. So we'll ask Will about some of the important injuries going on in the world of sports, which I know we got a bunch of important injuries. So just in case, before you make, of course, your investment this weekend, you got to know what's going on. So Will Carroll will fill you in on any of that stuff, and we'll give you the latest on the injuries, especially in the NFL. We got a couple in basketball, but more importantly, let's focus on the NFL and the players that could be out here. If you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, it's 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line. And, of course, on Twitter, at Big O Show. That's the way that you want to reach out to us on Twitter, at Big O Show. Myron Sanchez says, finally, the Cowgirls got a real coach. Mike McCarthy's done a really good job overall. Question is, will he be able to do his job when it comes to the Cowboys? Because Jerry's the guy that, I don't know, man, I just have a hard time believing that, he's going to make your life easy doing this gig. That's one that, I don't know, man. I got to see it to believe it, put it that way. Because I almost feel like maybe if you don't even get it done in that first year, your voice will run out quickly in that locker room because of Jerry. Because he's too buddy-buddy with the situation. And then on top of everything, they know that he's the guy in charge, not the coach. You know what I mean? So that's where it becomes a problem, I think, overall. All right, 786-322-1105 for the accidentlawfirm.com text line. That's 786-322-1105. Did you guys see the Carson Wentz story? I don't know if you saw this, that Carson Wentz, he's the one that kind of told the doctor, hey, something's wrong with me. I am not right here, and I think I've got a concussion. And so the doctor actually wanted, he commended Carson Wentz for coming forward and reporting the concussion. I got it here. It says, I think what Carson Wentz did is heroic, the doctor said, and should be highlighted as an example of how an unbelievably skilled and competitive athlete understands the seriousness of concussion injury and is willing to honestly report it and receive the care that he needs, independent of his desire and drive to continue to participate in the game. Dr. Alan Sills told the AP on Thursday, having a concussion and playing through it is not about toughness. That's demonstrating a lack of understanding of the severity of the injury. So I applaud Carson Wentz for understanding how serious this injury is and for getting the appropriate care that he needs. Now, Sills goes on to say it's a great example for players of all ages and levels, and you only have one brain. You should take care of it with a brain injury. Neurosurgeons at Vanderbilt the neurosurgeon at Vanderbilt says brain injuries are different than other injuries. Anytime someone has a sprained ankle, you can see their ankle swell up or dislocate a finger. You can see the finger pointing in the wrong direction. You can't see a brain injury from the outside, but that does not make it any less severe or any less dangerous to the recipient than any of those other injuries. All right, so let me go to a place that a lot of people aren't going to go to, okay? I agree with Carson. I agree that Carson Wentz did the responsible thing. It's his brain. It's his life. I talk about this all the time. We don't care about these players once they're done and they're retired. And 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later after retirement, they're all broken down. They need hip replacements, knee replacements. They've got all kinds of arthritises, itises, you name it, CTE, dementia, all of those things kick in. Guess who's dealing with it? The player and his family. In a quiet corner somewhere, and nobody knows about it, nobody cares because we've moved on to the next player, the next number. And if you can avoid being, dealing with dementia or any of this stuff, down the line, do it, man. Do the right thing. But here's where I'm going to go. Carson Wentz is going to get killed by some of the ignorant fools out there. There'll be some Eagles fans that are just absolute Neanderthals, and they're going to call him a wuss, and instead of with a W, they'll use a P, and they will not commend him for looking out for his health. They will say he was cheating his team. He's getting paid a lot of money. He should be in there sacrificing himself for his team and his fans. Which, of course, is a bunch of crap, because if that's what you want for your son or your daughter who's concussed and you want them to still stay out there on the field and possibly get even further injured, then you're a bigger loser than those people. Because if you wouldn't wish it on your child, how are you going to wish it on anybody else? But I know that there's that element of scumbag out there that thinks that Carson Wentz is a wimp. I know that there's an idiot out there, some drunken fool, that thinks that Carson Wentz is not a tough guy. I mean, this is the guy that blew out his knee and is back playing football, risking all kinds of injuries again. Everybody that plays football is tough. Okay? It's a tough guy sport. I mean, I know that this is what's going to be one of the issues. And it's sad, but I bet that he'll be dealing with it. He'll get booed. People will hold this against him in Philadelphia. Remember, we are talking about the fan base that destroyed their city. Okay? All right? Super Bowl win, let's destroy our city. Not the brightest bulbs in the chandelier. All right, let's do this. Will Carroll, the injury expert. We got some big games coming up. Let's find out about some of the important injuries in those big games. We do that with,
Mark Ingram.
Yes.
We haven't even thought about it, but that guy hasn't practiced.
There you go. So we'll find out about that and more with the injury expert, Will Carroll, next. Hey, one of the things that I told you when Chan Gailey was hired, remember one of the things that I talked about, Bill, that Jim Caldwell could be, maybe they think he could be on the move?
Yeah.
Well, Tim McManus now is reporting the Dolphins QB coach Jim Caldwell and former Redskins offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell have emerged as candidates for the Eagles opening at offensive coordinator.
Oh.
Yep. That's why, you know, when they hired Chan Gailey,
yes.
told
Nice
you guys that
grab.
It might be something about molding, establishing, and then teaching, whether it's Shuplinski, their quarterback's coach, to be the next offensive coordinator, not just hand Shuplinski the offensive coordinator position since he's never done it. He'll be now dealing with Chan, and Chan will then kind of establish it, and then Shuplinski will take over. I think that's what it's about. I really do. I've been telling you that from the second.
Tell you what, man.
And I saw this now with Jim Caldwell.
To lose Caldwell and get a guy of that caliber, Gailey, you got to give Greer all the props.
Well, because it's foresight, have an experienced coach to help you establish
Yes.
things instead of bringing in a young guy that had never done it before, and then, you know, that becomes an issue.
And like you said, we could groom the guy that we're going to pass the baton to and continue
right
on the same path.
Because they like Shuplinski, the QB coach. All right, and we like Will Carroll, the injury expert. He is the best in the business. And if you want to follow him, it's really simple. You go to Injury Expert. Make sure you follow him there. He is Will Carroll. Will the Thrill, how you doing, baby?
I'm doing great. We were talking just off the air about how great this weekend is. All the games. It's all the games. It's like Christmas all over again.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. And we got a lot of important injuries that we've got to talk about in this one. First of all, Adam Thielen. Apparently they're going to try to play him with the ankle. What's the latest there? What do you hear about his injury?
Yeah, they're going to give him every chance. He's a real game time decision. Everything I'm hearing is he is going to play. Thielen's not a route runner. So you worry about those guys like a Juju Smith-Schuster that has to go out there and be able to run those routes, make those precise cuts, be able to get off the line and get his timing right. that's not really Thielen's game. This is related to the hamstring. That old song about the hamstring bone is connected to the ankle bone. It's really true. His gait is still off. You can see him not so much limping, but if you really dig into the tape, you can see he's short striding in a lot of places. He's not a big guy, but he's a long strider for his size. He's not there yet, and that's what threw this off. So I don't think it's going to be a big detriment. I think they're going to feed him long balls. I think they're going to at least make them think about that. The play action, that's where Kirk Cousins is really good. When they've got Cook going and Cousins can make some fakes and do his little razzle-dazzle back there, Thielen going deep makes them think about that, opens up the bottom of the field for guys like Kyle Rudolph to push off. Did I say that? So it's one of those things where I do think Thielen's going to go, and I do think he's going to be able to still make them better, even if he's not 100%.
All right. Travis Kelce, knee bruise, been practicing. What's the latest?
Yeah, it's just painful. Anybody that's ever gone and played pickup basketball is hit gun knee to knee with somebody, and it hurts. The only thing about this one to me is that it's dumb. All these guys are out there, and the guys, including Kelce, that don't wear knee pads or wear the knee pads that are barely there and up on their thigh, why? Do you really feel like you're that much faster? Is it worth getting hit or putting yourself at risk? I don't understand when great players like Kelce absolutely put themselves at risk when they don't need to.
That is interesting, and he's had his share of injuries too. All right, Will Fuller, speaking of injuries, that man's always injured with the groin. What's the latest?
Yeah, this is the problem, is that if he can't get off the line, it doesn't matter how fast he is. And with the groin, he's just not able to. They're going to give him every chance to play, but right now he's not near 100%. And 80% of Will Fuller isn't that good. He's one of those guys. He's a sports car. He's very seldom in perfect condition, but when he is, man, it's fun. I just don't think he's going to be there. We'll have to see how they adjust. They got by last week without him. They're used to getting by without him, so I don't think it affects Deshaun Watson that much. The idea has always been that it gives Hopkins a little more room, that he's running deep, that Hopkins can shift around, that he doesn't get as many double teams. I don't think that's true. Looking back at the data that PFF puts together, I don't think it makes that big a difference. Certainly you'd like to have your deep threat, you'd like to have all your weapons, but I don't think it really changes what Houston does for precisely the reason you said. He's hardly ever out there.
All right. Laramie Tunsil's dealing with an ankle. Will, what's the latest?
Yeah, with Tunsil, and you guys know him well, he's just got to have a stable base. We saw last week guys were pushing through him. He's not able to establish. They adjusted with the scheme, and I think they're going to be able to do that. And I think another week is going to help him. We didn't see any setbacks, but sometimes you don't. You have him taped up so tight that I don't think there was a major setback. But you're still out there playing on something that's less than 100%. So it's difficult. He did fairly well. Be interested to see exactly what they do. He ends up against a speed rusher. He's going to have some real problems.
All right. And, of course, you can follow Will Carroll on Twitter at Injury Expert. Ziggy Ansah. This is a little disturbing, dealing with a neck injury, not practicing. What do you think?
Yeah, this is anytime you hear neck or spine or lower back, you really start to worry. We don't exactly know what the condition is. They're being very vague with it, and he's going through some testing. So this one is worrisome, and until we know more about what's going on, I don't want to speculate. But certainly for a player like Ansah, if he's not, this is something that could be keeping him out for a matter of weeks, not just one game. So bad time for the injury, a bad injury to have, and one you always have to worry about.
Riley Reif dealing with a concussion, a game-time decision. What are you hearing?
Yeah, this is one of the things with the way they've administered the concussion policy. You hear guys, they're in the protocol. What the heck does that mean? Well, it's a 3-step process, and that last step is going to the independent doctor. They've changed it up where it used to be if you went on Fridays, you go back on Saturday. It was 24 hours. Now they're saying it's 48 hours. So teams tend to wait until Saturday. If you're not going to be able to, test a couple times just in case you're wondering whether a guy's close, if the guy's close, why are you playing him? With this one, they wait till Saturday. They give him all the time in the world. So when you see these guys that are day-to-day with a concussion, it basically means the team is waiting for the last second for him to take that final step in the protocol. So that's at least a good sign that he's progressed through the first two steps, and they think he's going to be ready. So while they're calling it a game-time decision, they think he's going to play when you see this sort of setup. Concussions are tough. We know there's long-term consequences, but in the short term, if you clear the protocol, that usually means you're back to 100%.
All right, Dwayne Brown, the tackle, dealing with the biceps. Apparently, they say he's going to try to play. What do you hear?
Yeah, this is one of those situations. It's analogous to what J.J. Watt is doing, where it's going to blow. We just don't know when, and maybe you make through it, but in the worst case, the fix is no different. Can he be effective with a weakened bicep? You think, well, a lineman's not out there curling somebody, so can you play? Yeah, you can, but man, there's so many forces. There's so many things that you have to do. You got to be able to move your arms. There's so much pressure from the outside. Well, you may think about a curl. If a guy gets outside of you and is pulling your shoulder back, which is something you're going to see, especially if the guy is speed rushing you, you've got to be able to pull him back in, and that's the bicep. So with a weakened one, with one that they think is going to need surgery in the near term, he's taking a risk without a ton of downside, but man, you just hate to see it because it's painful. It's certainly not something you want to see. But the NFL has this mythology of pain management. Cut off your finger, play with a broken arm, get out there and do your thing. I don't hate it for the NFL. I hate it because I know there's a high school coach somewhere that's telling a kid, hey, J.J. Watt played, why aren't you?
Oh, nice. That's disturbing, dude. All right. Pascal Siakam, the groin. They say he might be back next week. What's the latest?
Yeah, they're looking towards that, and they want to make sure he's 100%. It's kind of funny. With muscular injuries, it used to be you waited, and we saw a lot of returns, and a guy would, restrain the hamstring, restrain the groin. Now, with the tools we have, you have an ultrasound machine, kind of just like the one that you see to see your baby when it's 2 weeks old. They use those on muscles, and they can go in there and say, yeah, this is healing up. Yeah, this is where we want this to be. Yeah, the muscle fibers are starting to regenerate around it. We don't see so many of those restraints because we're not guessing anymore. You can actually look. So with Siakam, the fact that he's getting close means everything's going well. We've seen that the NBA has gotten very, very conservative with returns. So I think the fact that this is delayed doesn't really mean anything in terms of the injury. It's more the resetting of the clocks and making sure these guys are 100% when they're back out there.
Now, let me ask you something. When you look at the Lakers, Anthony Davis dealing with the back injury, what's the latest there?
Yeah, he fell and went boom. It's really as basic as that. We all saw the injury. We've seen the highlight a bunch of times. You hear back injury, and you certainly worry about it. But this is basically, he fell down and bruised his butt. And that hurts. Don't get me wrong. But long-term consequences, not really. What you want to do is make sure that he gets past the pain, he gets past the inflammation, doesn't cause any other problems. Davis is another one of the guys who maybe he doesn't look like it. He's certainly not a speed player. You don't think about big guys not being power guys, but he's a finesse guy. He's got to have very fine movements. He's very tightly wound. So look, he probably needs a rest anyway. This is a chance to buy it. He'll be out a couple of games. It's kind of funny. You say you sit him on the bench. Well, that's probably uncomfortable for him. So hopefully he can find a comfortable position and get out there and not have many problems with it. I think this is something that in a week we'll say, is no big deal.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up with this. And I don't know if this is something physical or something mental you may not be able to answer. But how come I'm hearing a different story about Kyrie Irving every other week? Oh, he might be back in a couple weeks. No, he might be out for a couple of months. He doesn't know how bad this shoulder is. What is the deal with this flake? What's the latest with Kyrie Irving?
This is one of those situations where you kind of have to know who the player is. And certainly some people have very negative views on Irving. But for me, this does come back to anytime you're hearing multiple stories, that probably means there's multiple people telling stories. And you're going to have different outlooks. The team is going to have somebody leaking to the press. The agent's going to have somebody leaking to the press. Maybe there's a doctor involved who's a source. There's so many different things going on. It means everybody's not on the same page. When they're not on the same page, things get a little twisty. I mean, we've seen what happened with Kawhi Leonard a couple of years ago, where a very reputable doctor just disagreed with a very good medical staff in San Antonio. And was either of them right? Well, kind of both. And when you look at how Kawhi Leonard's come back and has that nice flashy ring and that big new contract, you kind of have to say he did pretty well for himself. I think this is a lot like that. The other thing to keep in mind here is the Nets aren't playing for Jack. They're playing for next year. So they're not going to risk any little bit of Kyrie Irving until Kevin Durant comes back. And every time we talk about Irving, I keep talking about Kevin Durant because we haven't heard anything. And why not? We're here at about 8 months out, and this is normally a 6 to 9 month injury. I certainly haven't seen any indication that Kevin Durant is doing anything but beefing on Twitter. We should be seeing him playing unless they're holding him back, or very small case, something went horribly wrong with the surgery. I just think they're basically tanking the year, and if that's the case with Durant, might not that be the case with Irving?
That's something to think about right there. I like that. Follow him on Twitter at Injury Expert. He is Will Carroll. Will, so what do you got, baby? Minnesota, San Francisco, who's winning it?
I like the Niners. I just like the way they've put together that team. There were a lot of questions about Shanahan. He's one of the best play designers. Garoppolo has been able to go out there and execute those. And all credit to John Lynch. He put together a team and built a culture, which is tough. Building a culture is tough. There's a history there, but this team isn't about that history. You look at when the team was great, it didn't carry over. That institutional intelligence didn't make it down. He had to start from scratch almost, and he's done a great job in a short amount of time.
All right, Tennessee at Baltimore. Will Tannehill make it a miracle there in Baltimore?
I can't see it, though. I think this is one of those situations where if I'm Marcus Mariota, I'm very happy because the guy who just took my job is the guy who's making my case. There's going to be a quarterback coach somewhere that thinks, you know what? Marcus Mariota was really good in the NFL. He was really good in college. I can fix him. Tannehill was always kind of that guy. He was hurt. Everything didn't come together, but there was an underlying talent there. I just don't think it's enough. The underlying talent edge goes way over to Baltimore. I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a coming out party this year. If you don't already know how good the MVP is, you're going to.
All right. Houston, will they pull off the upset in Kansas City? Who you got?
No, I think Kansas City blows them out. Pat Mahomes, He's just too good. I think Kelsey, everything is set up for his success in this matchup. We'll have to hear a whole lot more about J.J. Watt, but I think we're setting up for the year of the quarterback, and Mahomes is the best of the bunch.
Russell Wilson, can he do it on the road in Green Bay?
Yes, I think it's going to be a tougher matchup. A lot of people, especially at the start of the season, were like, why isn't Rodgers throwing? Why isn't Rodgers throwing? Look, this is a running offense, and they've got both their running backs. They've got Aaron Rodgers who can do Aaron Rodgers things. He's not peak Aaron Rodgers. I think he's in what's going to end up looking like a very steep decline. But I think they've got enough. Russell Wilson, though, man, he's always going to keep you in a game. Marshawn Lynch comes back and looks like Marshawn Lynch. If you're a running back, I'd be kicking that guy because he just made the case against you that you can go off the street and basically pick up a guy, though there's not many Marshawn Lynches out there. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a good game. And when you talk about three quarterbacks there, let me see, Wilson, Mahomes, Jackson, those are three of our four modus quarterbacks. So I'm kind of happy about how this playoff thing is going.
I like it. Follow him on Twitter at Injury Expert. He is Will Carroll. Catch him every week at this time right here on the program. Will the Thrill, thank you, my brother. You're the best.
Thanks, Lotto.
You got it. There you go, man. Will Carroll. Love it, man. Good stuff. Yes. 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 Ooh. Just looking at something else.
What did he happen to say about Ingram? Is he a go?
You know what? I didn't ask him about Mark Ingram. I'm sorry. I think Mark Ingram's playing anyways.
Yeah, but he hasn't practiced all week.
Yeah,
How
but
much? How much he's gonna?
That's a good thing for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At this point, you don't need a guy like that to practice. You just need him. You just need him to know.
He's a baller.
Yeah. You just need him to know what the game plan is, and
get him the ball.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, well, after the other guy touches the ball, get him the ball.
Right. Well, yeah, he's got to go from the center to Lamar to Mr. Ingram.
Right. When Lamar doesn't need it. Because obviously that's the most impactful player on that team right now. That guy on offense is a machine, as they say.
What was it, 36 touchdowns to 6? Is that the right ratio?
Something like that. Yeah, it's pretty close.
You're
pretty much right there.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Those are. I think he's got the MVP locked up. I think is a safe assumption.
Yeah. While we're over at the the draft for the week of Vegas, you know that week so far it's not super strong for concerts, but one of the concerts is Sheena Easton that we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That same night also is Thelma Houston. Okay? You know Thelma Houston?
Yes.
Okay. Thelma Houston is now in the news. She has teamed up. Okay, remember I told you Ozzy and Post Malone, Ozzy and Elton John?
We got another cuckoo combination.
Thelma Houston is on the new Morrissey album.
Huh?
Yeah. I Am Not a Dog. It is coming out soon. And she's on a song called Bobby, Don't You Think They Know with Morrissey. So Thelma Houston and Morrissey.
Wow.
How about that, dude? That'll throw you off there.
What?
Yeah.
How?
I don't know, man.
Exactly.
I don't know. You got to hear. You could go to I think it's Pitchfork, the one that has it, and they have the song, so you can hear it. It's an interesting mix. We're not playing any more music on the show because YouTube's really touchy about that stuff, and you put on a certain amount of seconds and they block you right away. So in other words,
that's why we have not been able to jam.
Right,
okay, guys?
we're only.
It isn't because we don't want to.
Right, yeah,
right.
Yeah,
we've been handcuffed.
Yeah. So it's just we play our theme song, and that's what you're going to hear, pretty much. You know what I mean? So that's just the way it is. But Morrissey and Thelma Houston, bro.
Never in a million, bro.
Right?
No.
That's
crazy.
That is just weird, man.
Did you see the Exacta at Gulfstream, bro? The last one?
No.
The Exacta 8-2 paid $234 for a $2 bet. The trifecta paid like $740.
Wow.
You know, that a trifecta, man. When you hit a trifecta, yeah, the day is set.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is. And your day is set when you go to VSS West Pines, whether it's cigarillos, whether you want to roll your own, baby. They got a wide variety and excellent selection. Tell them that Big O sent you. Rolling papers, large selection of raws. They've got the largest selection of smoking brand papers. Also, hookahs, all price ranges. Go see Jose and Jason, Alex, Tommy, all the great people down there. CBD flower, tinctures, edibles. They've got women's face masks. Also, not only do they have the face masks, but they also have the patches. So the CBD patches. My wife tried one yesterday on her shoulder, and her shoulder felt so much better because it's kind of time release. So you put it on there, and it go throughout the day. It's releasing the CBD directly into the area where the pain is. And they've got CBD topical, salva for pain, transdermal patches, which is exactly what my wife was using. I tell you, man, VSS, West Pines, the dry herb vaporizers, water pipes, glass pipes, silicone pipes. They've got them all for you there. All kinds of loose tobacco, exotic snacks, Yeah, they got. I mean, it's really a different kind of store. E-juice for vaporizers, incense, air fresheners. They got it all, man. Rollers, grinders. You want to find out more? Go to vsswestpines.com, on Instagram and Facebook at VSS West Pines, and tell them, of course, that Big O sent you.